What up, y'all? Bulls take the L, blowout fashion to the Pacers. We're going to be breaking it all down. That's Will to go Gottlieb over there. Katie's back there. Sarah Bear's here in studio, too. CHGO Blackhawks is here as well. We're going to be talking CHGO Bulls post-game. Come join us. Katie, hit the button. The Indy City. That means it's not windy because there's no W, ladies and gentlemen. It's a smart one. CHGO Bulls. We are live with you on the post game. Thank y'all for joining us and hanging out with us, man. I am Big Dave. That man over there is Will to go Gottlieb. You can follow him at Will_Gottlieb. DJ Katie is in the back on the ones and twos. Hi. Oh, Bulls suffer the L in blowout fashion. They tried to make it close a little bit, but ended up taking the L 129-113. They were down by 30 at one point.
I think they were down by 34.
Oh, yes, the correction is correct.
Yeah.
It was sad. It was tough. The Bulls did make an effort to get back into it, cutting the lead to, I believe, 14. 109-95, I think, is as close as they got in that second half. But, I mean, Indiana, once they just started pouring it on the Bulls in that first quarter, their defense got it started. They were hounding the Bulls in the backcourt. As soon as they crossed that half-court line, they were in their jersey, man. Lots and lots of steals. And then in that fourth quarter, you know, when they put their starters back in, they just continued to run them right out the gym. And the saddest news of them all, Johnny Furphy did not play.
Johnny Furphy.
But, you know, alas, we go on.
He was out with Kelly. It was the
Poor
first half
Jesse.
was just they turned it over. They had 14 turnovers. They felt like they turned it over
Alberto.
every single time.
Yeah.
They couldn't get it across half court. Like there was pressure. They'd just throw a bad pass. I mean, it was like leading to run out layups. And so like when you're not only not scoring, but like giving up layups on the other end every time, that's how they build a huge lead. And then you start 1 of 7 in the first quarter on threes, and you can't really get yourself going. 4 of 17 from 3 in the first half. It's hard to come back from that. And even at halftime, like the game wasn't at its biggest lead. I mean, the Pacers extended the lead even further into the fourth, which actually makes the comeback more impressive because it really did happen in that last 12 or so minutes.
It did.
But just a tough game for them. Like I don't know how much you really take away from it other than like rough shooting night and like didn't handle the ball pressure well, but they didn't defend well. I mean, they were giving up just easy baskets. Siakam was killing them. Halliburton was really picking them apart. TJ McConnell's going to come in and do something scrappy and get you a couple easy baskets.
Scrappy
He like
dude.
stole an inbounds pass.
Yeah.
So it's just like kind of for the Pacers, it like went to script, and for the Bulls, it was just like everything kind of went wrong.
Yeah. And I mean, the Pacers, 6 players in double figures. Zach LaVine was the lone bright spot for the Bulls with 31 points. Vooch, just an off night for him tonight. Hey, Julia. It was just an off night for him. Kobe White had 19, so he continues to get more comfortable. The other bright spot I thought was Jalen Smith. We'll talk about him a little later. But, Will, it was just the fact that how they came out, because it just seemed like the Bulls, I would say they did come out just a little flat, but it felt like they could not recover from it at all. They were walking up just a slippery hill every single time. And why was it such a hassle for them to get into their offense by Indiana? And again, this isn't me taking credit from Indiana. More credit to them, man, and how they defended the Bulls and set the tone in that very first quarter. But I couldn't understand the struggles. I'm not here to pin it on Josh Giddey or anything like that, because I think everybody in that backcourt kind of struggled outside of Lonzo Ball. I think everybody struggled with the basketball. But what would you say would be one of the reasons that Indiana was able to attack them in their backcourt?
Yeah, I think like when you are a fast-paced kind of transition-heavy team, it's easy to just beat teams to like not let them get set, right? So they're trying to get back on defense, you get set, but if you're already into the paint by that time, now you're scrambling.
Yeah.
I think what the Pacers did was really smart, which was basically pressure the ball at half court and full court to where the Bulls can't get out ahead of them, can't get behind the defense to where the defense has a chance to react and adjust to things. And I thought the Pacers did a really good job of just preventing the Bulls from getting into their early offense. And when you get bogged down in the half court or when you turn it over, it's just harder for them to generate offense. And I thought they struggled with that. They struggled with shooting. It was the turnovers. And like I said, everything just kind of didn't go the right way for them. Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen. I think that's okay. For me, it's more about like the adjustment of, okay, now I think you're going to start to see other teams pick up on this and say, you guys want to run and shoot threes? Like, that's fine, but we're going to pressure you full court. And what's the adjustment from there? We've seen this a couple of times throughout the season where teams start to figure out how to combat the Bulls' pace. And teams have also gone away from that. And so I wonder if now they'll start to just pick up on it. It's a lot of work to run with the Bulls.
Yeah.
But I think that's really the way to neutralize them. And then you saw in the second half, the Pacers kind of chill out a little bit, get back, you're up 34, you're chilling, and all of a sudden the Bulls can get back into it when the shots start falling. So I think just meet that pressure that the Bulls present to you with defensive pressure, and that can give the Bulls problems because it's not like they have – I mean, Giddey's a good floor general, but he's turnover happy.
Yeah.
And so if you can start to force the Bulls into turnovers, you're going to be getting easy points on the other end too.
Yeah. And
that's the momentum that you want to carry if you're going against this Bulls team.
Yeah, and as I mentioned when we were watching the game, like they needed a guard who kind of settles them down. That's not really Giddey's forte. Right. He's pace. He's gone. He's moving.
And even Lonzo, I think, is similar. Like he's obviously a similar player in terms of his ability to make the right connected pass, but he tries some stuff. Like, and he takes risks. And when you do that, inherently there are more turnovers. I don't think that's a bad thing. But if you are trying to be a low turnover team, then that can be sometimes at odds.
Yeah, and Lonzo's risk paid off early when he came in the game. Generated 4 points as soon as he walked into the game with 2 steals, leading to 2 transition buckets for the Bulls. But they still struggled. But let me talk about something nice here first. Zach LaVine, man.
Yeah, we got to talk about him.
Let me get into Zach LaVine and what Zach LaVine was doing out there on the floor. Again, 31 points for Zach LaVine, along with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. The reason that is relevant is because that is Zach LaVine's 4th game in a row where he has had 30-plus points, tying a career high with 30-plus points in 4 games in a row, something he hadn't done since his first time being an all-star in the NBA.
And in addition to that, from Bulls PR, only 4 players this year have had 4 straight 30-point games. Giannis, SGA, Melo, Jokic.
Wow.
It's company.
It's starting to get funny because when we talk about Zach, we start hearing his name being put with these other great players now because his numbers match that now. And Zach has just been that incredible and that good. I would say in this one, Will, what was interesting to me was – and again, I mean, what did he play? 35 minutes? What was interesting to me was you saw Zach trying to do what he's been doing all season long. Let the game kind of come to him. Not try to force too many things. Just, let guys, do their thing. Maybe play a little defense here. Maybe facilitate a little bit more. Get these rebounds going. Do the little things it takes to try to win the game. When you go down by 30 and you know how lethal you are as a scorer, as Zach LaVine knows, you tend to start forcing things and saying, you know what, I'm putting it on my shoulders. I'm bringing us back. This is what's going to happen. And you started seeing Zach LaVine do the old kind of Zach LaVine things, which was, the turnovers were coming, stumbling a little bit, couldn't control the dribble enough because he was just trying to score and get buckets for the team. And I can't be mad at him and fault him for any of that because somebody had to do it. Nobody else could score out there on the floor. And as I've continued to say, nobody can stop Zach one-on-one. Whether it's him shooting the 3, whether it's him going to the bucket, I haven't seen anybody been able to stop him one-on-one. So that's why he starts to force those things. And when you're doing that, that means the double teams are coming. That means the defense is going to start changing. So those things get more difficult to be that guy that Zach LaVine has been all season long, which has been that smooth, not forcing anything, doing that. But when you're down 30, Will, I'm not mad at him for starting to force things and try to score.
100% agree with you. You did see him originally from the start of the game try to do what he has been doing, which is like play within the flow of the offense, be a part of the offense, not command or hijack the offense, commandeer, I should say. But fancy. 31 points, 12 of 20 from the floor. Like, for him to do that in a night where you have, like, I mean, they kind of opened it up in the fourth and scored 37. This was, like, not a good offensive game for them. They had 26 points in the second quarter, 18 in the first. So for him to be able to produce in that way, I agree with you that he did kind of take it upon himself and say, like, all right, I'm going to get us back in this game here. I'm going to do the best I can do to make sure that this doesn't get too far out of hand. And when it did get too far out of hand, he still continued to put pressure. He didn't quit on him. But what was impressive about it to me was that he was still so efficient with it. It wasn't one of those situations where 2018, 2019, where he's just taking a ton of tough shots and missing them and the Bulls are down 30. He was playing that way, taking it upon himself to create the offense, to be the offensive engine, and doing it efficiently to get themselves back into the game. And ultimately, it didn't work out for them. But I thought this was, not the best version of Zach LaVine that we've ever seen before. But to me, watching this, it was like, okay, he actually can be good enough to be the one that takes over and do that efficiently too, if he needs to. And he's been very careful to say, like, yeah, I could still give you 40 if I need to, but like, we're not trying to play that way. He said that multiple times this year, and he's bought into that. He has lived that, but they kind of needed that from him tonight, and he did his best. Obviously, only 31, but I mean, 4 straight games. I think 7 out of the last 10, right, have been 30, something like that. So he's just been on an absolute heater. And yeah, I think for the most part, he's really doing it the right way. But there are games where you just need somebody to give you something. And you were even saying it like, this is going to be a THT game because you need a little offense when you have 50 points midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, man. And you definitely saw the Bulls. Like I've said in pregame, the Bulls are number one in scoring in the third quarter. They had 32 points in that third. And they're they're third in scoring in the fourth quarter. And that's why you saw the game continue to be close because they're a good scoring second half team. It's just that the Pacers are also a good scoring second half team and also were a better defensive team for the Bulls. Well, I think Bulls fans have to get comfortable with that as far as, and I'm not saying Bulls fans haven't been comfortable with it yet, but I think we really have to understand that defense is going to let the Bulls down on a lot of nights, and it's just not going to be there. They are going to run, they're going to score, or they're going to try to score as best of their ability and put it up. But on the defensive end, it's just not going to be there. I will say, though, tonight, it looked a little different as far as the effort was concerned for me tonight. There were a lot of easy layups and easy dunks for the Indiana Pacers, man. And it just looks like guys, you could just see guys that kind of tapped out late in that fourth quarter. You just saw it. They were done, and they were like, okay, we don't want to do this anymore. But all game long, you just saw the Pacers controlling the pace of the game, pun intended. You just saw them continuing to show what we're going to do, what we want to do out here on the floor. We want to go to the bucket. We want to take the mid-range shots. Siakam, go to work. Halliburton, do your thing. And Halliburton wasn't even really a huge factor. He was enough of a factor because he's a star, but he wasn't really a huge factor in his victory. It was more of a team-oriented kind of feeling. I mean, Mark Bryant had like 26 points, 6 rebounds on them tonight, man. So everybody was scoring for them inside and outside, and the Bulls defense is just not good, Will.
Well, it's actually interesting because I was sitting here writing about this before the game. Since December 1st, obviously prior to tonight, the Bulls have been the 12th best defense in the league.
Crazy.
Which is wild because we've all been talking about the team being like shorthanded and under talented on that end. And so for them to be putting together a month plus stretch of being a top half of the league defense, that was really impressive.
Yeah.
I want to do some more like research on that and figure out what was going well for them and why it didn't go well tonight. But the first thing you always look at is opponent 3-point shooting. And over that time, the Bulls have been number 2 in the league with opponents shooting only 34% on threes against them. League average is 36. So that I think speaks to good closeouts. I think it speaks to a little bit of good luck for them. But there are going to be nights where that comes back around. But what's crazy is tonight wasn't even really that night. The Pacers only shot 10 of 29 for 3. So 34%. That's about what teams are averaging against them.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break right here. We come back. We will continue with this conversation. We're also going to get into Jalen Smith and the game that he had tonight for the Bulls and much more foolishness on the way after this.
You want to hear about our friends at Verilife? Because if you are looking for the perfect way to elevate your day, guess where to look?
Tell me.
Verilife Dispensary. They have everything you need from premium cannabis products to expert advice. Whether you're new to cannabis or a connoisseur, their knowledge and their bud tenders are there to help.
Shout out.
8 convenient locations across Illinois. Discovering your perfect experience has never been easier. Verilife proudly offers a price match guarantee, ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. Don't miss out on their latest deals and exclusive offers only at Verilife Cannabis stores and online at verilife.com. And guess what, Dave? If you place an order online, you can still redeem code CHGO25 at pickup to receive the discount. So mention code CHGO25 in stores and receive 25% off. One regular priced item. Restrictions apply.
Restrictions apply.
Restrictions apply.
Ladies and gentlemen, they are back. My brother-in-law, when I gave him this product when they first, came to CHGO, when I gave him this product, he has hounded me about them month after month after month. When are they coming back? Because I love this product so much. What is that product? Mando. Like how low I get on there? That's pretty good.
It's impressive.
Thank you very much, Will, to go Gottlieb. Mando. It's a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling so fresh and so clean. Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's bodies, such as the pits, the bellies, the butt cracks, the grundles, all them spaces. They will keep them smelling very, very, very fresh. It's a whole body deodorant. It is safe to use anywhere. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So she said, you know what? We're going to do something around this, okay? Because I can't have y'all walking around smelling all funky. It's not a cool thing. Choose from a variety of fresh scents, ladies and gentlemen. Bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, I am intrigued, or Pro Sport, clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. That is a bar, ladies and gentlemen. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor was found 5 out of 10. With Mando, guess what? 0 out of 10. Oh, you're going to need some of this, ladies and gents. All right? Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or the deodorant wipes, and you get free shipping, man. You can't beat this. As a special offer for the listeners, also, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That code is CHGO. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack, ladies and gentlemen. That code again is CHGO, and you go get it at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Mando. You want to stop smelling funky all day? Get Mando. Yo, Paul wanted to know where Matt was. I'm bringing this up because I get to say it again.
Your favorite thing to say.
My favorite thing to say right now. Matt is out with a non-COVID illness. He shall return next game. He's feeling much, much better. He wanted to be back today, but just precautionary measures. Something else I wanted to say. Precautionary measures today, staying back. But he'll be back with us next game. So make sure you're here.
Backpack? Non-COVID illness?
Out. Go ahead, Katie.
I really like the narrative that the people are building in the comments here.
Which is?
Bulls are playing so bad, they're literally making Peck sick. And then French Bulls TV with he saw the bald-headed menace on the Pacers bench and got sick. I love that narrative.
I wish I had more time with my guy Tony East in the pregame because I sure wanted to talk about the bald-headed menace, and I just wanted to get into the hatred. of him. If he told me anything positive, I would have asked Katie to completely cut him off the show. But yes, he's on that team. I can't stand him. Thank you very much, French Bulls TV fan. So let's talk about Jalen Smith, man. He had a really good game tonight. Obviously, it felt like a game because he was back in where he was comfortable with the Pacers. I think Adam Amin did a great job talking about how beloved he is with the Pacers, how Rick Carlisle loves him, calls him a great guy, you know what I'm saying, great attitude.
One of the best young men he's ever seen.
Oh, one of the best ever. I would, nope, not going to do it. But yes, one of the best ever, man, an awesome human being. But I do like the game that he had tonight. Will, he came out hot. He hit the shots that Vooch couldn't hit tonight. I believe he was 4-4 from the three-point line at one point. But he played very, very well on both ends of the floor. I saw him attacking offensively. One of the best things he does he's a great guy on the pick and roll. Mm-hmm. So you get him that ball, and he cuts to the basket. And, I mean, he's going with reckless abandon. And he's going to finish. And not just finish with a lay-in. He's trying to dunk the ball on your head and finish and get to the line. That's always something I love, especially in the big guy. But as I mentioned before, he could step out, shoot the three as well. But on the defensive end also, you saw he was honestly one of the few Bulls that had that effort tonight and that hustle out there, because he was hustling back outside of Lonzo. He would hustle back on those fast breaks, trying to get those blocks, trying to disrupt and do those things like that. What do you feel about Jalen Smith's game, Will? And were you surprised that Jalen Smith finished over Vooch? Because the Bulls still had a chance to get back into the game. Like I said, they were down 14. And Billy decided to go with Jalen Smith over Vooch.
Yeah, it was interesting. 27 minutes for Vooch, 5 of 9 shooting, 10 points. Did not attempt a three, which I would guess is the first time that's happened this year. And only 7 rebounds for him. He did get tripped up at one point, and
no, you good.
He was down for a little bit. I wonder if he was shaken up from that, or I don't know what happened. Remember when he fell down and we were all kind of
and clutching? Yeah.
He looked like he was a little out of sorts after that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to Jalen Smith's credit, he stepped in 4-4 from the field, 2 of 2 on threes, got at the free throw line 3 times, made all of them, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. And that's just great production from a backup big. And I think what the Bulls wanted out of Jalen Smith was a big that could defend the rim, but also run the floor, but also space the floor and shoot some threes, because what they really wanted to do this year coming into the season was change their shot profile and get up and down, but also have that floor spacing element from the center spot to create those driving lanes. And that's really what generates a lot of the offense, is having that space to attack the paint, spraying it out, and then having the big who can step out and shoot it or trail the play, but also just to pull the opposing big away from the rim. And I think Jalen Smith does that very well. There are nights when he's shooting it, and there are nights when he doesn't. This was obviously a good shooting game for him, but he's versatile. He can attack the rim on the short roll. He can dive and catch lobs. He's a good athlete. So I think there's a lot of utility there with just the way he plays. And we haven't seen him get a ton of minutes in any one game, just because Vooch has been playing so well and he's been so consistent. So, I mean, I would guess this is one of the greater minutes games that he's had this year with only 17. So, yeah, I think he at times can kind of disappear if the shot's not falling for him. But he's kind of very aggressive with that shot, right?
Yeah,
so he's always looking for it, and that really helps. I mean, that's a big piece of it, especially for bigs. Vooch at times last year obviously didn't shoot the ball as well, but I thought it was more damaging when he didn't shoot, right? Because now the big can lay off you don't have to get out to him, and that paint is clogged up. And so Jalen Smith is always going to put it up. He's always going to be aggressive, looking for his shot. And I think just that in itself can be really can help the Bulls offense be a little bit more devastating. And they obviously didn't get that tonight, but I thought he played well.
Do you think that it not devastating, do you think he can make that offense more dynamic? And what I mean by that is I know what Vooch can do, obviously. He's a beast. He's a beast inside. He can hit that shot outside it too, but it's the length of Jalen Smith. And like I said, like I mentioned, that pick and roll, which, will make your life pretty easy as a point guard. Do you think he can make those guards and those kind of, and even a guy like Zach LaVine, who he can run a pick and roll with as well, do you think he makes those guys more dynamic with his style of play?
I don't know if he is aside from the floor spacing element. Like, I don't think he's necessarily making guys better. I do think that counts for something, right?
Sure.
Like, if I'm a big and I'm guarding in space up on a pick and roll and I have to decide between like containing Zach LaVine or getting back out to Jalen Smith, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think the Bulls want to put opposing teams in that predicament.
Sure.
And so I think in that sense, he does make guys better, but he's not the same, like moving the ball side to side, keeping the offense flowing. You're not really playing through him in the post as much as you can with Vooch. So he's not as dynamic in that sense, but I do think what he provides, and we've talked about this before last year at times, was like, is it better to have a cheaper specialist or a higher paid do-it-all guy? And I think the Bulls kind of have both right now. They have a guy who can do it all, who can be the heavy minutes center, and then they have a guy who can come in, space the floor, protect the rim, and run the floor. And that's really what they need, especially in those second units when it's like Zach's maybe not on the court and obviously Vooch isn't.
Yeah.
You can just create offense through that system that we've talked about.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. So, yeah, just wanted to give him some love because he definitely deserved it in what he did tonight. Man, I see a lot of people in the chat are really going in on one basketball player. I honestly was going to try to not even get into him. I really was, Katie. I'm serious. I was going to leave it alone. But every time I look at this, the attacks are evident and it's going down.
I mean, look, here's an alternative. We could just read the Patrick Williams comments.
Okay.
If you want to do that.
That sounds like a thing.
And if you want to talk about it afterwards, you can talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
If you don't want to, you don't have to.
All right. Well, I think we could roll with
you
that.
did promise, Anthony, that we were going to talk about it, so you may as well.
Well, I make a lot of promises that I don't keep. So it's fine.
But not to the fans out there. Thank y'all, and make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button out there. Because
just to Dave and Will and Matt.
This is the harshness I'm seeing in
Yes,
the comments
man.
right now.
No, they were upset. They were pretty upset.
You want to read them, Katie, or should we?
Go ahead, Katie.
No, you pick one.
Oh, go ahead.
I think we
I'm
should
not
read
reading
through them.
You want to read all of them?
Why not?
All right.
The Bulls are playing 4-on-5 when Patrick is in the game. Patrick Williams sucks. Put a plug on him and play other guys like Buzelis, THT, and Phillips. They hit a solid 2 points tonight and didn't score from the field. That was so wild to me, dog. My man did not score. And the 2 points on the free throws were 2 different trips to the free throw line. So he had 1 point and then another point at another point in time. It was a bad game. Patrick Williams is awful. Pull Patrick Williams from the starting lineup and put Lonzo in there. Bench Patrick Williams, for the love of God.
Anthony's really going in.
He's a waste out there and doesn't look like he gives a shit to play, improve, or develop.
Oh, man, there's a scroll.
Oh, there's a Dickie Simpkins
so
reference out here. Dickie Simpkins is greater than Patrick Williams. Joey Spathers thought that we were making up names when we talked about Dickie Simpkins. Patrick Williams wears the shout out Mando. That means he smells fresh. And
That's
he smells
why he's
amazing.
always so dry.
I mean, super dry. And y'all know I can't stand it when he's dry. And Mando will do that for you, ladies and gents. Make sure you get your savings out there. Put Katie in for Patrick Williams. I mean, Katie gets 6 fouls. I mean, you'll get a rebound.
I'll give you 6 fouls, and I'll jog for 8 minutes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you still might. I think you can pull down 2 rebounds and get 6 fouls in 8 minutes. I think you can do that. But yeah, man, they're not happy.
The people are not happy with
They're
Patrick
not happy
Williams.
with Patrick.
And look, there's
don't
not
blame
much
him.
to defend right now.
Yeah.
Like, he's 2 points, 0 of 6 from the field. Didn't make any of his 3-point attempts, as you mentioned, 2 of 4 from the line, 4 rebounds, and a block. And he was minus 21. It was not a good
minus 21. Jeez.
Yeah, that was not the worst of the starters. That would be Vooch, and Zach was minus 20.
Woo.
So, yeah, it was not a good game from anybody, really.
Fair.
And so I don't want to, like, go extra hard on Patrick. As we've talked about, like,
I don't either.
The development that you would have hoped to see from him, we have not seen yet.
Yeah. It's really that simple.
That's kind of, it is what it is. There's obviously areas where I feel like he could be a little bit more productive.
Mm-hmm.
There's also areas where I feel like expecting too much from him is kind of what's causing all this frustration. And yeah, it was not a good game. I expect him to play better. But to me, it's like, as I've said before, on nights where he shoots it well, and I'll say it again on nights where he doesn't, I don't want to measure Patrick's success based on whether he's hitting his threes.
Yes.
He needs to get to the foul line.
Yep.
He did that for 4 attempts tonight. That's good. He needs to stop turning it over so much. 2 turnovers in 21 minutes is probably too many. I want to see him be a better decision maker when he is on those drives. I want to see him get all the way to the rim and finish at the rim. I don't want to see the pull-up jumper as much because I feel like he can get all the way downhill. And this is stuff that Billy's talked about with him. This is stuff that Patrick's talked about with us. And he knows that he needs to do it. But it's been a challenge. And I'm not going to there's not much more to say other than that.
Yeah, it's been difficult. It doesn't feel like he has a plan when he makes a move to the bucket. The play that I saw where he took 2 dribbles and went up with a left hand floater, which I've never really seen him do. That just felt like a guy without a plan once he got there, and he was just putting it up. And you're right. No. Let me bring that back.
I'm not right.
I do disagree with you as far as you saying the expectations that people are placing on him. That's why they might be disappointed. I don't feel that way. I'm sure it might be some people out there who have higher expectations for Patrick Williams. As I told you, this was a no excuse season for me with Patrick Williams. But for me, Will, like, it has to be better than I hit 2 free throws.
Yeah.
And it has to be better than I forgot I'm out there on the floor. It has to be better than I played 35 minutes and I just barely cracked double digits. I don't know if those are expectations, but if you're calling that an expectation, okay. I expect you to be a little bit better than that.
I think you're probably right there too. I also think that was something that I could say a little bit more fairly last year when he was on a rookie scale deal. Yeah. And now, as people pointed out, like $90 million, 5 years, $18 million a year. Like there should be a little bit more production from him if that's what you're paying him to do. Now, I will say this. I do think that the bet is on him to be at or exceed that production at some point over the course of his contract, not necessarily right away.
Okay.
But it is not off to a good start.
It's not off to a good start. I will say, closing on a positive note, congratulations to Patrick Williams, who now has 1,000 career rebounds. He joins Michael Jordan and Lou Aldang as the only players in franchise history to have tallied at least 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 200 steals, and 150 blocks prior to turning 24 years old.
Shout out to Bulls PR.
That's production. Things are happening. He's doing stuff. Just got to be a little bit better. When we come back, we will continue with these conversations. We'll continue with your comments. Send in your super chats. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button or Katie will come and get you. And please, you do not want that in your life, ladies and gents. We want you to enjoy your night. We'll be back right after this.
Dave, you heard of this thing called the NFL playoffs?
I've vaguely
heard of it. It's pretty fun. And
is it popular?
Whether it's pro football or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. No dreaded chatbots. Yeah. Bet all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game live bets. Circa Sports has it all. Fun and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, don't do that. Katie, what time is it?
Game time.
Yes, well done. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your event easier than ever. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc., etc. Told you about that Katie one woman show. It's going to be a thing. It's going to sell out. Of course, they got the all-in pricing. Of course, they got the lowest price guarantee. Of course, they got the Game Time ticket coverage, which comes with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. But yes, indeedy, they have got the seat views. Oh, I need to know where it's at. Where can I stretch these things out right here? I got to have it. Tell me where I can sit. Is the person in front of me going to be taller? Is the person behind me going to be shorter? I need to know these things. Seat views will let me know where I can sit so I can get the right view because I'm a big person. Take the guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase.
There's black.
That's CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase.
There's black.
Download Game Time today. You want to go, Golly? What time is it?
Game Time.
Hoot. Did you see Katie dancing on that?
I was really locked in on my
You
term
was
supply
focused.
dance.
Okay, you were focused on the terms. Okay.
I didn't. That was my fault though.
Okay. All right.
I was locked in.
All right. I see Larry is wondering what the Blackhawks post game show. The show will be starting soon. The fellas are in the house. It will be going down.
Studio
yes.
B.
That Blackhawks post game, ladies and gents, is definitely on the way. They took the L to the Colorado Avalanche. Mario
No, I thought
J.
they won.
Oh, excuse me. They won.
The people in the comments are telling me they won.
They 3-1. Let's go.
Thank you, Blackhawks people.
He said we're back. Back like we never left. Oh, yes, they got your post game coming up, ladies and gents. Make sure you tune in for that. Well, I think we should take this game, kind of crumble it up, throw it over the shoulder, not think about it no more, because it was a very, very bad one that they had.
It was.
I believe this is now 4 in a row for the Pacers. The Bulls who had won their last 2, obviously take that L right there. And they stay in that number 10 seed, as Matt would say, yay. Coming up in the next game. What else he would say? Plenty of things he would say.
He would say, sometimes 2.
Sometimes 2.
Sometimes 4. But the 17 and 20 Bulls are always 3 games under 500.
Always 3, ladies and gents.
There's a comment that I would love to circle back to.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
If you're okay with me leading a discussion here.
Circle on back, Katie.
So this is from Alberto earlier in our show here. And this kind of stood out to me. With all this talk about staying competitive, this game was definitely it. I assume he meant not it. But either way, when Billy and the team in general are talking about, staying competitive, and we talk about how we see that they're trying to put the best product on the floor rather than blowing it up like we are advocating for, is this game not exactly proving our point? Like, is this not exactly what we are bitching about all the time? Like, okay, yeah, you beat the Wizards, congrats, but you can't even beat the Pacers. Is this not a perfect example of why we're saying to blow it up? I know we have lots of anti-tankers that watch our show and we love you, but this is kind of exactly proving our point, is it not?
I think you're right. And it's funny because my question was going to be about Billy Donovan and, his rotations and not liking young guys out there. But yeah, Will, what are your feelings on that?
I think that's part of it. I don't think that Billy or anybody in the Bulls organization would really be getting, aside from maybe the players, and even they would try not to do this, but get too high or too low with the wins and losses. Mm-hmm. I think when you have a team that puts together some good moments and has good wins, mm-hmm. and then has some bad games, stinkers, losses that you shouldn't have, that kind of thing happens with younger, inexperienced teams. Now, to me, the issue is that we're just not seeing a lot of development from the younger players on this roster. Without Zach LaVine tonight, this is more than a 30-point loss. Mm-hmm. I mean, that he was amazing. Yeah. But even Vooch didn't play that well. Kobe has been really hot lately, but he didn't have a tremendous game either. 8 of 17 from the field, 19 points. Jalen Smith was Vooch had 10, but Jalen Smith, 13. 2 points from Modest, 2 points from Dalen, 6 points from Julian. THT had 8 points in 10 minutes, but he's kind of a scorer. Lonzo, I thought, played well. We could talk about him a little bit. I think to me, the bigger issue is just that it's the 10th seed. It's not can they play a good game or can they play a bad game? It's this is the bigger picture trend that we're looking at. And it's not just this season, it's last season, and it's not just this season, last season, it's the one after that too, because this has been where this team lives. And I do think that it's difficult to get out of the middle if you're unwilling to take a big swing and take a risk on talent, or to take a step back and try to, push for lottery luck. And it does take, I think, one or the other, because it's just difficult to build from the middle. Now, I think the challenge with where they are is you have these games where it's well, maybe they can compete with the Bostons of the world or the Milwaukees of the world. But I think just being a team that tries aggressively and runs and all this stuff that they're doing, they are going to keep themselves in some games, especially when you're taking and making a ton of threes, you're going to win some games that you wouldn't otherwise, and you're going to lose some games that you probably wouldn't otherwise lose. But to me, it's like a bigger issue of the general trend. They are in the like bottom 8 to bottom 12 area. That's where they have been living. And
the sweet spot.
And I think like that's like a reframed, it's like a, people are talking about it like this is like some big level of competition. It's like they're the 10th seed. It's not like a secret. This is, I mean, this is where they are.
Yeah.
And like you can't say, oh, I want to like compete for championships and be okay with being 10th. It's not that you're 6th or and you're like just a you know, super close to getting to home court advantage in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's like the 10th seed. And I don't understand why there are people that are really hanging on to that.
Yeah.
Especially because like what they're doing isn't necessarily that far away from where they probably should be going anyway. And so I think that's the challenge, is just like the reframing of the mindset. And I think because this has been the norm for so long and because they have good games, this feels good enough. And I think that's the question people have to ask themselves. Is this good enough?
Yeah. That key word for me in that, what Katie was asking and what you said for me is risk. And I think you're right. Like they refuse to take those risks. And honestly, I'll put Billy Donovan in that conversation too. And I'll explain why later. But when you watch what they have brought in and who have they, you know, just guys like Andre Drummond, guys like Javon Carter, Torrey Craig, those aren't high risk players. You know, those are players you're bringing in to bolster your roster. You know, your roster, your bench. It's not guys you're bringing in to start, maybe spot start, you know, stuff like that. But just guys that everybody knows what they can bring to the table. Everybody knows what these guys can really do. You're not going to get really surprised by something they do. Of course, you clap for them loudly if they have an incredible game, like Javon Carter having 26, like when Drummond was having like 20 rebounds, just out of control. But guess what? We've seen them do those things throughout their career. So it's not a surprise. It's not a shock. Torrey Craig, the same way. They won't take those risks, you know, to make a move and bringing in a bigger name guy or something like that, because that's a risk. When you're starting to change, you know, your philosophy, you're starting to change who's on your team and you're going in a different direction, that's a risk. And it feels like they have, I'm trying to find a better word than fear, but they have reservations about going forward and making those changes and making those risks, which I feel like those are things you should really be doing for every reason you just said about being in the 10th seed. Well, the way to get out of that is you're going to have to take risks. You can't keep doing the same thing. As Will Purdue was saying here last time, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. They're doing the same thing over and over again and thinking, okay, well, this will be the year. You know, no, it's just not going to work that way. The reason I said Billy Donovan in there was more so because of the development of young people and of what I talked about yesterday. Just his development of young guys. He more so leans on veterans. He's going to go forward with veterans. I feel like that's the reason Patrick Williams plays the amount of minutes that he plays, is because he's comfortable with Patrick Williams as a veteran ball player, because I honestly can't think of another reason why he deserves that many minutes over somebody and not giving them a chance to see if they can be in there and do a little bit better job than what he's been putting forth. So I feel like these guys are just, you know, chilling on the risk, you know, don't want to disturb the apple cart, as they say, and just want to keep moving forward. When you do stuff like that, you get 9, 10 seeds. That's exactly what you get. And this is exactly who the Bulls are, man. So unless they're willing to go out on a limb for one time and take a risk one time, this is what you're going to get, man. Sometimes they work, you know, and you wind up with a Derrick Rose, you know, like that. Or sometimes they don't work. You trade Jimmy Butler for all these guys and it just didn't work out. But you have to be willing to go ahead and take that risk, man. You cannot be comfortable in staying mediocre.
Well, I think the issue is that, like, they did take some big risks and it didn't work out.
Okay.
And then they got really stuck from it because when you had
and the risk you're saying are the trades. The
exactly.
and things
trading
like that.
for DeMar and Vooch
See, for me, those aren't risks.
Lonzo.
Those aren't risks for me, bro. Like those are some of them are
Trading for
no-brainers.
Vooch was a huge risk, I think.
I think they gave up too much, but I don't think trading for an all-star.
But that's the
center
risk.
is a risk.
You're sending out 2 very lightly protected draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge risk, and I think that probably, I don't know if scared is the right word, but it deterred them from being, 1, willing to make those kind of trades, and 2, being able to, because they don't have picks to trade now.
They can't.
And so I think when you take a big swing like that, you can call it a risk, you could call it a swing, whatever.
Sure.
When you have traded a bunch of assets to go out and get guys, and it didn't work the way you wanted, and there was bad luck, Lonzo got hurt, all of it.
Sure.
But it didn't work. Now you have very little financial flexibility to go out and sign guys in free agency. That's why Jalen Smith has been the most lucrative free agent signing that they've made since DeMar. You have no cap space to be able to go out and get another guy. You can't really trade your first round picks because they're either tied up or not there. You can't really make any trades because the guys you have are injured, or you're unwilling to sell low, or you don't want to sell before, like on Patrick, for example. Like they could have probably gotten something for him 2 or 3 years ago if they decided to, but they didn't want to totally, sell all of their assets.
Yeah.
And I think when you kind of hedge your bets in that way, you keep some of your young players, you don't go all in with the picks, or vice versa. You go part way in and you don't have enough to really compete because you didn't go out and get the guy. That's kind of how you end up stuck. And when that happens, you just don't have the flexibility to go out and do other things. This is the first year where, Lonzo's going to come off the books. We'll see what happens with Zach and Vooch in terms of their contracts, Blake. And then the draft pick too. That's going to be a big piece of it. But after this kind of iteration, they're going to have a lot more flexibility to go out and do the next thing. It's a matter of do they want to wait until that happens? Okay. Until their books are clean and they've got all their picks to be able to go out and do another move. I think that would be that would be basically 5 years without really doing anything. And I just think that's you have to be more active than that. You can't just let 5 years of time pass by. Yeah. Because there's contracts happening. There's players developing, and you have to sign guys to new deals. So to me, it's part of it was the way that they went in and how kind of trapped they got in terms of draft picks, assets, veterans getting hurt, and contracts. And I don't think that they want to get themselves trapped again. And then it is hard to make trades, especially in this new CBA. That is a real challenge that I think a lot of teams are facing. You're seeing that all over the league. There hasn't been a lot of trades, and there haven't been any first round picks traded this season. So I don't think that there's an obvious answer, but I do think that even if there's no obvious answers, there are things you can do to start to put yourself on a better path. And the disappointing part about it all is that, 1, we haven't seen a lot of the young players, and 2, in the minutes that we have seen, we haven't seen a lot of real production from them. You've seen some flashes here and there, but there hasn't been enough to really say, okay, Modest looks like he could be a star. Let's build around him. Right. It hasn't been that, and so I think that contributes to the challenge of the indecision. Yeah, but again, he's got to get time to get out there on the floor too. Coming in and playing the last 4 minutes of a blowout game, is not going to do it. You got to get out there and play, man. And just because you took a swing and it missed, you get other at-bats. Swing again. Take another shot. Oh, it's disappointing. I want to look ahead a little bit, Will, because I know that they play the Wizards. Skip that. You think they're going to get up for that game after getting worked by them last time? If they get beat by 20 by the Wizards again, dude, tune in for that post game. I'll just say that. But I want to look at to the Sacramento game because I think that is going to be something, because that's DeMar DeRozan time. And seeing him for the very first time in another uniform is going to be something. I immediately think of Dalen Terry when I see a DeMar DeRozan. And I'm excited to see him play. I like that he's become more comfortable, with the Kings, because it was a little, rocky at first. Rocky is putting it lightly. Yeah, being nice, a little rocky, but it feels like it's settled in. He just won the game for him, that 2 overtime game victory that he won for those guys. But it feels like they're finding their footing. They're getting more comfortable in what they want to do out there on the floor. Shout out, I want to, give some love to Doug Christie, and what he's doing with that team. But as somebody, Will, that has been able to sit up close and just watch DeMar, I've been here while
you have sat and just raved about just what DeMar DeRozan has meant to the Bulls on the floor and off the floor. So I'm curious as to what you will be feeling when you finally get this opportunity to see DeMar again in another team's uniform.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like interesting and fun. Like when Caruso came back for the first time on opening the home opener, I believe it was. Just like I think they're excited to be here. Like they're excited to try to beat the Bulls and show them that they made a mistake by getting rid of them.
Yes.
But I think it's also just like an interesting time to look back at the previous decisions and, you know, not only what that DeMar era looked like and represented, but the decisions that led to him staying and him going. Yeah. And I think this Bulls team was just like on a path where they needed to start to make some changes and go a different direction. They've tried to start doing that, and we have seen what it actually turned out to be. But DeMar just represented the very far other end of that, which was that this player that was like too good to let them be bad. And he was amazing for this Bulls team. But I think it was time that they moved on from him. I don't know if we want to like totally talk about the whole transaction and looking back at that, but like I think it was just time for them to move on, and I think everybody kind of understands that. What I hope is that DeMar gets onto a situation where they're like legitimately competing, and they lost 6 in a row, fired Mike Brown. It was not looking good. No. They were 6 games below 500, 5 games below 500. But since then they've won 5 straight. Fox has missed some time in that.
Yeah.
So I don't know like how Fox and Sabonis and DeMar are working together, what the synergy is like. Yeah, you've got Malik Monk and Keegan Murray. They've got a very talented team. But they've got a big game against Boston here tomorrow, and then they've got Milwaukee on Tuesday after they play the Bulls. So it's a tough little road trip for them, and I'm just kind of curious to see how the rest of the season goes, because you can't wish anything but the best for DeMar. He was awesome.
Yeah, and the reason I'm bringing this up, if anybody's wondering, is because they'll be playing at home. Goat won't be here to give these thoughts. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to give these thoughts on him, man, because you used to speak truly glowingly.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like
the player he was.
He's a great person, a great leader, great mentor. Like the players in the locker room loved him. The organization loved him, like what he represented and him being kind of in line with what they wanted. It was, I get why it was hard for them to move on, but I think assuming they keep going in the direction that we hope that they go, I think it will have been a good decision. But it's always hard to do that.
Yeah, very. Katie?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to weigh in on this too, because like I was a DeMar fan even before he came to Chicago, like back when he was in Toronto. More so just a fan of him like as a person, like what Will was talking about. He's an incredible person to have in the league, like is such an asset to the league with the issues that he speaks about off the court and just the way he handles himself, like as a player, as a person, as an employee of, you know, any team that he's on. But I also think like for myself, and I think there's probably other Bulls fans out there that feel like this, it's so, I don't want to say emotional, but it brings up a lot of thoughts and feelings to have him back in the building, because I never, in all the games that he played for the Chicago Bulls, questioned his effort or his desire to win.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about most of the players that are on the team right now.
No, that's a fact. And it's funny when you said that, the first thing I thought of was the many times I watched DeMar DeRozan rip apart a towel because of how angry he was at how he was performing out there on the floor.
Yeah. Or like, when, you know,
he wanted to win.
He's out there in blowout games, you know, still taking his little mid-range shots, like still doing all these things to win. Like he never, ever gave up. And I think we see so often this season, guys don't even want to get up in the first quarter, much less the fourth. Like that's just how it is. And I'm very excited to have him back in the building. And I wish we could return to a time where there were players on the court who I could say that about.
Like I'm excited that Will gets to experience that at the UC, just that return. Because then, you know, I'm not saying it's Derrick Rose coming back, but just the fact of how beloved he was. And you know the UC, Will, when they love you, they love you.
I mean, we saw the Bulls Hornets game, fans on like a Tuesday night in whatever month it was, November, December,
Mm-hmm.
cheering, "We want Taj."
Yes.
15th man on the Hornets,
Mm-hmm.
cheered him into the game. And that
Mhm.
was like an emotional moment for him.
Yes.
So like those fans will show up and they will show their love for their favorite players. I'm excited to see what that looks like for DeMar.
Yeah.
And just like I said, what the Kings season looks like, because you obviously want him to succeed, but you know, with the rocky season that they're having, like, and now you compare that to the style of play that the Bulls have had and the success that they've had, it's just interesting to kind of look at, well, could they have done this if DeMar was still there?
Mm-hmm.
And what would that have looked like? Because I think it may have been a lot better. I mean, if you still had this pace and 3-point shooting volume with also that I can slow it down and get you a bucket when I need to, like that's the kind of contrast that I think the Bulls were really after when they put the team together in 2021, where you had Vooch and DeMar who could slow it down, but you also had Lonzo and Zach and Caruso and guys that could get up and down. And I think that synergy really worked at that time, and it just never really got there after Lonzo went down for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And then you have this complete swing when you lose DeMar to going all out running and shooting threes.
Yeah.
And I think you need to play to an extreme. I think you need to play to your style and who you are. And like, I keep seeing comments about like, do the Bulls have an identity? I think they very clearly have an identity, and that is it. They're going to run you out of the gym and they're going to outshoot you from three.
Yeah.
And that's who they are. But I wonder if like there could have been that perfect middle ground where all those two sides of DeMar and the pace and space and threes could have ever worked together. And we just won't know, but it's just an interesting thought process.
We saw it, but I think we did see it work. It was in that first half of the season when everybody first got here, because that's exactly what they were doing when they had Lonzo, when everybody was healthy and the Bulls were at the top of the East, yada yada. But that's exactly what they were doing. They were running. They were running up and down the floor all the time. And Lonzo was the reason. Like, he was getting everybody the ball who needed the ball. As long as you moved, you got the basketball. And DeMar was eating what was left over from that. And I mean, eating good, you know what I'm saying, on some leftovers was from that. But I think that's exactly what they were doing. And then having Caruso, you know, being able to start the break, you know, with his defensive effort. Yeah, I think they were able to do it then. And it takes those kind of guys to run that kind of offense, those kind of high IQ'd elite guards that I feel like Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso are for, you know, either side of the basketball that they do. But I think it worked. And it's sad that we won't know how well it could have worked, you know, because of the injuries and the things that occurred. They had to go to it's DeMar DeRozan and let's go to work kind of offense.
Well, I think we actually did see the best that could be. Like, I just don't think that even if Lonzo had never gotten
not
hurt,
for a long period of time.
Exactly.
We got it for a short stint.
That was like, to me, that was like as good as it was going to get.
Okay. It wasn't going to get better.
I just don't see how that could have sustained the way they were shooting, the way they were like, it just, and Billy even said it, you know, from day one that I got on the beat. It was like, we're doing some stuff that is not sustainable, and we need to figure out how to do some of this other stuff to make that work. Sure. And so I think that the front office got a little bit entranced by that and just what that was and how it worked, and thought that could replicate when, even if it did work out. And then you have the what if, like, let's just give it more time. Lonzo, maybe he'll come back and all this stuff. Man.
Ramp up.
And yeah, all the ramp ups. And I think that's how you get kind of trapped in that cycle and by that vision of, you know, it wasn't a mirage because it existed, but it was, I don't think, something that could have sustained long term. And so I think that, like, when you think about like teams and eras of teams and like taking them to their logical conclusion, like, I think they waited too long. I think that's not new.
Yeah,
it didn't have an opportunity to get to the logical conclusion because of the injuries. But I think we did see the best that was going to be.
We just needed to see it longer.
Yeah,
we wanted sequels to that movie, man, but we're not going to get them. But DeMar DeRozan is going to get all kinds of love from the UC. That's going to be amazing to see. Hey, Optimistic Bulls fan is here. Oh, hey, bro, your boy been getting cooked in the comments tonight, my man. He's been getting fried. Damn. But yes, thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for hanging out. Thank y'all for letting us know how you feel. This is a safe space, Bulls fan. Let us know how you feel about the team. Let us know how you feel about the players. Let us know how you feel about us. I mean, all of that is a safe space, man, because I ain't got nothing but love for you. I really don't. Thank y'all for being here. Make sure you're with us. Next game, January 10th, Bulls are playing the Wizards. Matt Peck will be back in effect, snapping necks, cashing checks. We're going to be right here. Will be at the UC. Katie will be back there on the ones and twos doing what she do. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out, ladies and gentlemen. Hit it up. Do it now. I'm trying to save your lives. Hit the thumbs up button. Katie, where's the thumb thing? I'm shocked you ain't had a thumb up here. Oh, look at him. Look at Troll Joe. It's got to happen. Thank y'all for being here, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful evening. On behalf of Katie, Will the Go Gottlieb, I'm Big Dave. We'll see y'all next time.
Bow.
We all silly like the mayor.